Today's the opening night of BBC Proms. As a big classical music fan, it's been on my bucket list for a while to go to the BBC Proms. This year, luckily, I got the seasonal pass, which allows you to go to almost every single concert. I actually don't live in London right now, but it's also a really good occasion for me to meet up with a lot of my friends who live in London right now. So it's gonna be a very exciting mix of the music I love and people I love join me throughout the prom season. My friend joined me for the first night of proms. It was a rather spontaneous thing we decided to do. We were figuring out how to get into the queue, where to get the tickets and stuff, so I'm really glad my friend was there with me. Sibelius Violin Concerto. It's a super elegant piece. I actually got to know about this piece when I watched an anime called Given. There's a scene in episode 7 where he's practicing the Sibelius Violin Concerto. One thing about violin concerto, it sounds very different to the recordings. Usually the orchestra tends to be louder when it's live compared to when it's in a recording. In the morning, I took the first train to London and got the queuing ticket. Vivaldi and Bach, so good. I got goosebumps. All the players, apart from cellists and bass players, were standing up. You can see them feel the music as they play. They were just making eye contacts and smiling to each other as they played. They didn't have a conductor, but a lead violinist, so charismatic. They played us 3 encores. Ravel's piano concerto for the left hand. Ravel sounds like as if you're in Twilight. It's like magical, colorful. It gives like a midnight fiesta vibe. For the encore, the pianist played Scriabin's Nocturne 9, which is also a piece for the left hand. Apparently, Scriabin wrote this piece when he was 18 years old. Also, William Walton's Symphony No. 1. It's a very exciting piece, definitely going into my playlist. I got so excited from the first day of proms that I just decided to come for the entire week. Mahler's 7th, the symphony I've started listening to quite recently. This time I went alone. Nice to just talk to people. Lots of juicy information. They had this super cool instrument. It looked like metallic pots. These are the cool things, you know, when you see music live, because you get to see what kind of instruments are actually being played. Also, you know, after the proms, when everyone just spills out of the Royal Albert Hall, I often see like these old couples holding hands together and just walking back home. Like, I hope that's me one day. I bumped into my friend in the library. We decided to go get ice cream. Mark Simpson's Zebra, the world premiere. They had electric guitar, the orchestra and the organ playing at the same time. Just such a unique mix. This was the concert I was looking forward to the most because they have Sanson, Egyptian Piano Concerto, which is not played often enough in my opinion. I've been listening to it since 2023, so finally I get to listen to it live for the first time. Bruckner's Raffle, a UK premiere. I really enjoyed this piece. The sad thing about these premieres is that I can't find the piece after I leave the concert. The one thing that was a bit unfortunate about this day was I was having a chat with a friend of mine before the concert. I was a bit thrown off, and after that I had all sorts of things going through my head. It's a bit unfortunate I couldn't focus. It's been such a great week to be in London, thanks to my friends who let me stay over at their place. It was also like the first week that I took off since the start of the year, so it was actually really refreshing to go into the proms every single night. The more I go to, the more I want to go to. My day didn't just end there. I managed to get back on time to catch a farewell party with my friends who were graduating. Congrats to them. I want to thank them so much for all the lovely memories. Bruckner was so good. Bruckner 7. It's one of the pieces that I got into quite recently. Bruckner just feels like you're in outer space. Not like I've been there before. I really like the first movement because it has a lot of strings, but also the third movement where it starts off like full on with the brass coming into your face. It was brilliant. The Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto No. 2. I was very lucky. The piano was literally like 2 meters in front of me. I was just absorbing the piano. I could hear every single note like crystal clear. It was still ringing in my head even today. I think it's my absolute favorite piece. My mom used to play it on the car when she drove me to kindergarten. I've been listening to it as I grew up. Since I submitted my thesis, today I went to the lab to just do my final cleanup, threw away all the strings, cleared out my bench. It kind of hit me that it came to an end. It just almost felt as if everything was just a dream. None of it happened. I'm so excited for tomorrow, for Yun Chan's raffle. This is like the prom that I wanted to go to originally. Ever since I saw his Rack 3, I wanted to see Yun Chan live. I got a place that was quite close to the stage so I could see him play. His dynamic range, he goes from this like super powerful playing to this suddenly soft touch. Like the amount of control. They had the fire alarm go off towards the very beginning of the first movement and they didn't do any announcements. They had to stop the performance. That was a bit unfortunate. Dvorak Symphony, family's favorite. Really happy that my family joined me for the proms. Being able to share something that I really enjoy with my family, it was such a special experience. My brother was like smiling throughout the concert. Rhapsody. I think it's one of the most romantic phrases of music. I got to know the Paganini variation through a ballet. It basically uses the whole of the Rachmaninoff's Paganini variation. You have these two lovers. They walk side by side. It's such a beautiful ballet. I just took like a half-hour short nap, very excited. The overnight proms was an insane experience. It was an 8-hour concert. It was only the second time in about 40 years that they did this overnight proms. I got a seat for this one. I wanted to see Anna Lapp would play the organ. So when the organ was being played, you can hear and feel the music at the same time. The sound was just engulfing you. They had a Norwegian band. Their transition between different pieces was so smooth. They would go from telling stories to blending it into the music. Pembroke Choir from Cambridge. The voices were just filling up the whole of the Royal Albert Hall. My friend and my colleague was in the choir. It was so insane to see someone who I usually see in the lab being on the stage. Hayato Sumino, he had this really unique two piano setup where he had the grand piano and the upright piano in a 90 degrees. Around 4 a.m.-ish, Anastasia Kobekina just started singing as she played the cello, which I found it so fascinating. How can you sing completely different notes to what you're playing? Whenever I see these soloists who have pursued their style and their art take on the entire stage, it always makes me wonder, will I ever get to the stage? Also motivates me to think of ways to get to that point with my own career. I also really enjoy the Senegalese performance by Sekor Keita and his instrument called kora, which is a West African string instrument. During the intervals, I walked around with my friends to the gallery. We had 5 intervals in total, 2 20-minute long intervals and 3 15-minute shorter intervals. I got to see things that I don't usually see when I'm standing in the arena. Like on the floor, they have a pattern of musical notes. There's a smoke machine. There were colored light poles along the rising circles. Also, there are these big red things that are hanging from the roof above the stage. From below, I thought it was some kind of fabric, but then I realized that these were actually blocks. In the Royal Albert Hall, they have these circular holes on their roofs, so you can start seeing the sunlight come in. Overall, such a special experience to be at the overnight proms, let alone the fact that it's an 8-hour concert. You're spending a night at the Royal Albert Hall, both of which you can hardly experience. It was so great. I'm so glad I went. It's like a lifetime experience, you know? I'm gonna sleep as soon as I get back. But to be honest, I'm like completely awake right now. Since I didn't feel like going back home yet, I decided to stay for 2 more nights in London. Mala 3, it was such a beautiful piece. The only thing is, I wasn't able to fully focus. Even though I was feeling completely fine during the day, I suddenly felt really sick. I think I was only taking in about 50% of what was being played. The rest of the energy, I was trying to endure the pain to be able to stand still. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. The mood was really played well with the lights and the staging. I would have loved to listen to the sitar with the tabla. I got so much energy from listening to her pieces. It prepared me for my master's viva, which was on the next day. Viva. It's in about 20 minutes. Today's really gonna be the end of my masters. After my viva, I'm gonna go have lunch with my lab. It makes me a bit sad, but then again, it's also nice to say thank you to everyone. I hope I can do my best for the viva and enjoy the rest of the proms. I just finished my viva. I think I talked a lot. My examiners were quite happy with whatever I submitted. It's not sinking in right now. It's like a lot of mixed feelings. I still don't know my final grade, and which is gonna really decide my next steps. But my viva's done, so that's the end of my masters. I'm really happy that I got to do my masters in the lab I worked with. Thank you to everyone I met.
Joe Hisaishi. Oh my gosh, I was so close to the stage. 3 of my friends who I met at different stages in my life just came together in one frame. There were a bunch of younger people in the audience, a bunch of us in the front, and we were just chatting. I think that's one of the beautiful things about promming. You get to just chat with people around you. Everyone's so friendly. The Ravel Piano Concerto is such a playful and fun and exciting piece to listen to. I think this piece is really enjoyable when you could see the hands. Literally in the beginning, you just swipe the whole keyboard. It must be so fun to be able to play that. This time I went solo after so long. It's always so fun to just talk to people sitting around you. I was talking to this lady next to me and she was a cello player. And so she was saying she really liked the Schumann cello concerto, which I don't really know, but I'd definitely go have a listen to. Bruce Liu playing Tchaikovsky. Actually, I've heard this exact piece being played by the same pianist, the same orchestra, and with the same conductor back in March 2022. I really got into this second piano concerto when I started my summer internship that year. I remember listening to this piece on the train every day on my commute from central London to Stratford. This concerto has a lovely second movement where the cello and the violin does an exchange together and then the piano comes in. I think it's a very underrated piano concerto. Also, they did an encore and the conductor doing the percussion. After the interval, they played the pictures at an exhibition. I saw this massive bell on the left side of the stage, so I was waiting for them to play that. So I was staying in London at my friend's place for the past 2 days, and it was actually her last days in her flat. I saw her giving her keys away and I really felt the change of season. Also at the beginning of the proms, I had several friends that I met up during the day. Now they've all completed their masters, some of them have left. These things, it really hits me. Everyone's moving to their next stages. It makes me really feel, it's not sadness. I think it's really exciting for everyone. I don't know if I get to meet some of them ever again. Everything is gonna become a memory in just a few weeks. It was quite surreal to think that way. Under Shift playing The Art of Fugue by Bach, there's something so powerful about solo piano performances. Being right in the center of that stage, drawing all the crowd's attention to your notes. It was very special. What I was really confused about is the page turner would go back and forth on the score. Apparently Bach passed away before he could finish this piece, and so that sudden ending was really memorable. heard was so special. Plus Maka conducting Marla's fifth. Literally, this is going to be one of those concerts that I will remember forever. It was the first time I listened to the Royal Concert of Gabor. The sound, the projection, that depth, I haven't heard anything like this before. Absolutely mind-blowing. Also, I met a fellow skater. Everyone was so quiet. They were all like still. There were no clapping in between the movements. And the conductor, his arms extend wide. Movements are really big. Like everyone was drawn to the music. It's too good. Oh, so good. My friend who I met at the proms let me stay at her place. It was such a lovely house. This was a really memorable part of my proms season because like me, she came to the UK as a student and now she's established her life here. It was truly inspirational for me to see someone who has achieved something that I want to achieve. Being able to see that with my own eyes was a big learning for me. Her mom was a plant biologist. Also, her house was filled with music. All the programs from the proms to the Royal Opera House, and I got so excited. This is another thing that's so special about promming. When you start talking to people around you, they're all at different stages of their life. You get to hear their life experiences. You can learn so much, which is really special. Sibelius Second Symphony. I think the whole piece sounds as if you're going on this adventure, this long voyage, and you're drifting along some very rough sea. And this big adventure finally starts to flourish when you start the fourth movement. I love the phrase that goes from the end of the third movement to the start of the fourth movement. It sounds as if you found a new land or something. What's the best thing about promming?
Meeting people.
Yeah, I agree. The Common Fantasy. I was really looking forward to this piece. I first heard this piece when Mary, she released her first album. Then I found Hilary Hahn's album. It looks so crazy to play it, especially towards the end. It's so fast. Saint-Saëns Organ Symphony was so brilliant. I've heard this piece live 3 times now, but my impression of this piece was that although it's called an organ symphony, it doesn't have that much organs. This time I heard the organ so clearly. The sound of the organ is so powerful at the Royal Albert Hall. When they played, you can hear the vibration of the organ through the floor. It was so powerful and so impressive. Tchaikovsky. This concert was a bit chaotic because it got disrupted by a protest in the middle and the whole concert was delayed. They had to change the order of the pieces they were playing.
In the face of human suffering, and that artistic ideals without values lose their sense. Enjoy the musical, and I invite you to show your
I really enjoy Katya's interpretation as well. I think it's very unique and refreshing. Her fingers are literally dancing on the piano. It moves so smoothly. The Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto is something that I grew up listening to. Norwegian chamber orchestra. This was another very unique concert. It was an experimental blend of traditional folk songs along with classical music. Also, it had a touch of the importance of tradition and identity. They also wore traditional costumes. I enjoyed the whole staging. End of August, I'm really starting to feel the change of season. I'm taking about 5 days off. I'm back home and I suddenly feel so lonely again because when I'm in London, I'm surrounded by so many people. Like, I'm usually at someone else's house. Also, I'm meeting people throughout the day. Now that the season's changing, people are moving and I am moving, I need to keep telling myself, don't get attached to things. When I move, I'm going to start everything alone again. I'm moving out today. I packed everything up. Everything's moving quickly. The Second Symphony by Vaughan William. It's not Vaughan William, it's Vaughan William. One of those things that I never know how to pronounce correctly. I really enjoyed the second violin piece that they played. It was Arabella Steinbach. She played so beautifully. I really enjoyed the way she played, especially her projection is so strong and really clear, and I'd love to see her again. Also, I really enjoyed the Beatitudes by Arthur Bliss, especially the sound of the harp, and they also had the organ and that chorus. It was a fantastic piece. I really enjoyed it, even though I didn't know this piece before this concert. Vienna Philharmonic Day 1. My friend did a small birthday party for me, which was really cute. This was before we left for a hectic bus ride to go get the raffle tickets. This was the first day of the tube strike.
Happy birthday, Karen! Thank you!
Someone who was standing to the front of the queue gave me his queue number, which was really kind of him. Later, he told me that he came at 5:30 in the morning. Thanks to that, I was in the second row. It was like the best birthday ever. Second day of Vienna Philharmonic. I had a really crazy morning trying to book the day ticket for my childhood friend. I didn't know that he liked classical music.
How do you eat that?
Rachmaninoff's Second Symphony. I originally got to know this piece through Royal Ballet's production called Anémone. This was really a good example of what happens when you listen to the right music at the right time, because it just hits you. I suddenly felt so emotional. I was like full on crying, which doesn't happen that often, but I was really moved in that concert. There was this old couple standing in front of me. They were holding hands. That was really cute. have this special queuing rules for the last night of proms, which start the day before. On the 12th, from 9 o'clock onwards, they form this long queue in front of door 1. And so by the time I got to the correct queue, there was already at least 100 people in front of me. It was so cold as well. The wind was blowing. It was like 14 degrees and we were in the shades. I was in summer clothes. Everyone had blankets and I was really underprepared. You go into this room where you can collect up to 2 raffle tickets per person. They write down your name next to your queue number. They give you the usual raffle ticket. After that, there is another queue. The first 119 people can choose where to stand based on the order of your queue number. The queuing business for the last night doesn't end there. On the next day, I had to come back early in the morning, so at like 9 o'clock, because they start giving out this special wristbands, which you have to get by going to door 1 and then showing your raffle ticket, and that's how you line up for the last night of the proms. It was quite hectic. You have to come back to the queue 2 hours before the performance starts. I was hanging out with my friend during the day, so I was a bit late to the queue. But yeah, the last night of the proms, I'd say was an incredible experience. It really did feel like a festival and a celebration of music, completely different to the other proms. The atmosphere is definitely a lot more light-hearted, but at the same time, a lot of people are in tuxedos and fancy night dresses. My friend and I, we managed to be quite close to the stage. There's apparently a promenadas committee. These are people who come to the proms like almost every single day. I got to hear Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody being played by the original guitarist Brian May. Roger Taylor came in at the very end and he played this like huge gong. I could not believe my eyes. They had another piece where they used the typewriter as part of the piece. Towards the middle to the end of the second half was just a lot of British traditional songs, a lot of which was new to me. Also, the whole audience was singing along. I didn't know any of the songs, including the national anthem. I think the last night was really worth it. I'm glad I went. I don't think I'll get to experience it again. To end the season, I went to 40 proms at the Royal Albert Hall. I got to meet lots and lots of wonderful people. I'd say my most memorable concerts after going to all of that was Michaela playing Mahler 5. I made a playlist of all the pieces I listened to live. The playlist is 50 hours. I'm so glad I got to finally go to the proms. I hope I can go to at least one next year. I want to thank everyone who I met at the proms. It was so lovely to talk to you and thank you for sharing a lot of fun stories. Also, thank you to my friends who I got to meet and catch up between the proms. My friends who let me stay at their places during the prom season. Otherwise, I couldn't have gone to as many as this. Thank you so much. I hope to see everyone in the next season of the proms. Bye!